Hey, we've been here all, and we're talking. You haven't talked. The guy said, I'm going to tell you 2 words. It's what you paid for. So what? So what? He goes, you paid for so what? We're here to tell you so what? So it was Obamacare why I brought this up. My brother went to a hospital one day. He was very poor. My brother had struggled with drugs his whole life. He'd never gone to jail or anything, but he worked in Bishop, California at a cruddy motel with his girlfriend and was probably paid $50 a week under the table and blah, blah, blah. And she worked as the front desk lady. One day he felt like he was having a heart attack. So she drove him to Bishop Hospital. And when they got to the parking lot, he said to her, I'm afraid it's going to cost too much. I feel pretty good now. Maybe I just had gas. Let's go home. I'll take some Pepto-Bismol and blah, blah, blah. When they got home, he jumped in the shower and she found him dead at the end of the shower. Oh. And it was because he couldn't afford to walk into a hospital. This was before Obamacare. Cut to a year later, just 1 year later, it's passed in this country. And because I've been a comedian my whole life and never worked at a job, I got insurance for the first time in my life. I could have been my brother. I could have, because as a comedian, most of my life, I lived check to check. I lived pretty well, and my checks might be bigger than everyone else, but I also have a million bills. You know, I also live in a more expensive city and all those things. So I lost my brother. Then my sister got ovarian cancer 2 years later and passed away. So my poor parents had to watch this. And then my dad got pancreatic cancer. I didn't tell anyone because my mother got breast cancer and they were more focused on trying to save her life. So when my mother died, I went, oh my God, my poor dad's getting so skinny. He's thinking about my mom. And then I took him to the doctor and he goes, no, I told him 3 years ago he had pancreatic cancer. Oh. So he was gone months later. And then just everything crumbled from there. My uncle died, my aunts died, my cousins, younger cousins, everybody. And then, you know, being a comedian, it's sort of like going to high school every year. You meet hundreds of comedians that you become friends with. And now on the internet, you stay friends and you talk every day. And so it's sad. Every month I'm posting 2 or 3 dead friends because I know too many people. But it was just a rough time. I mean, we were running comedy at this bowling alley, and this this black porter named James, he came up to me, we were talking, and I said, hey, thanks for your help earlier at the comedy. We were just buddies. He goes, hold on, I got to take this trash out. He walks to a door a foot away from me, and I hear bang, bang. And I run out there, and he's still standing. And I look, and he has a bullet wound in his face and in his chest, and I watch him drop to the ground. And people start coming outside screaming. And I see my wife and I run to her and I grab her so she doesn't see anything and blah, blah, blah. I go to the police station that night, and about a month later, I guess they found them. A woman was in the car. I guess a gang initiation was to shoot the first black person they saw. And so they waited at a bowling alley and shot my friend. But that was something I kept from my family because I think my brother had just died and it was too much for me to, tell my parents. I was afraid that they were going to think I was in a dangerous business. So we didn't even get therapy for it. I think I finally told my therapist about it like this year, but yeah, it was tragic. That was a rough 10, 12 years that we went through where everyone died on us and we saw too much, and it was rough.
How did you just get through? Okay. I want to okay. There's just so much, so what that can, that most people can handle. At some point, their so whats are going to be like, damn, like I'm over this. Like I don't know that I want to crawl out from under my, how did you just survive? Not survive,
I don't know. Because then end it with COVID. You know what I mean? Like at the end of all of it, even her dad lived with us during COVID and he had Alzheimer's. And during Alzheimer's, he had a heart problem that made him go into the hospital for like a month. That exacerbated his Alzheimer's so bad that he went from being able to talk like this to zero verbal.
Yeah.
We lost him.
Because he was by himself, right? Because you couldn't visit him. Oh, gosh. That is probably, I think, the most horrible part of COVID was just. It was
the worst. We couldn't see him.
Like,
we never once saw him.
Going in a hospital, it's scary itself. You have Alzheimer's, that's scary itself. You have that combination. That is just terrifying because there's nobody to advocate for you. Those folks are in there all by themselves. I just couldn't imagine. And then you're stuck at home dealing with that helplessness.
Yeah. And I'm also an empath. I am. I'm not the kind of person who, like, I'm the tough guy who doesn't give hugs. I'm the crier. If I watch a sad commercial, I'm probably crying. You know what I mean? So it was
Yeah.
rough on me. But at the same time, you know, it's also life. You turn to someone else and tell them, like, yeah, I lost my dad too. I lost my mom. I lost,
Yeah,
you're like, it's life. It is life. We all expect it to happen. It's all of our worst fears.
of
It
course.
happened to me just earlier than most people and right in a row. Big deal. I still have my beautiful daughter and my beautiful wife and my sister and my cousin. And great. That's my family. And my wife has a family. So now they're all my family. So what? So what? I had the best time with everyone that I loved that aren't here anymore. And I never once regretted anything. Like my mom and dad, I literally would call them minimum of 6 times a day. Couldn't wait to tell them everything.
You know what I see? I see how you focus on the parts that you can control, right?
Right.
And the positive parts of it. Like, yeah, you're like, yeah, that happened. And
Right.
this is what's so good about this is good and this is good and this is good. And that's your future. You have a lot of hope in your future.
Yes, I do. Well, it's sort of like my wife when she was upset about this extra 5 minutes. I said, what is the worst that could happen? I said, honey, you have friends that are worried they might have cancer right now. Things like that. Those are real world problems. I'm worried about it. I don't know if you can see the scar. So we have a real problem in my family with skin cancer. And this was a big
Oh, okay. Yeah.
cancer on my face. My dad had this nose that was all cut up from it. They just took a piece off of my back the other day. But again, so what? I'm still here. I'm not going to die from it because I went and saw a doctor and they're going to take care of it and they'll cut it
You
out.
have health insurance.
And I have health insurance now that pays for everything. So who cares? Right.
So
Yeah.
what's your future now that we know that you're focusing on just the positive and you're just attracting that. You're an empath, so that's good that not you're just not receiving the feelings, you're putting out the feelings that you're wanting. It's like this amazing circle that you've created. So where is that taking you? Where is that wheeling you down the road?
I think it just brings me joy and happiness and good people. Because there's even people that, like in high school, may not have loved me or liked me for whatever reason. I was never mean to anyone, I never did anything wrong, but everyone has their own problems. You know what I mean? But what I've noticed with social media and me being an empath is even someone who I know hates me, if their husband dies, I write them the longest, sweetest letter because I feel every part of it. You know what I mean? Like being an empath, if you say this happened and when I was a kid, an arrow went through me, I'm going to feel the arrow going through me and what you went through and all the pain you felt, as a child having to deal with the scar when you went to the bathing suit place, or you know what I mean? All the things that we all hate about ourselves. But it was crazy is those people who I always felt hated me, once they realize that I don't show them hate back, that I show them kindness and love and support, now they're always writing to me. Hey, how are you doing? You know what I mean? It's the craziest thing. Because when you spread positivity, it's really hard for someone to be mean to you.
Yeah. And that's probably because you are that way and you're willing to feel. I think a lot of people that's probably their biggest fear is to feel, to have a real in-depth deep feeling, but the fact that you're willing to go there, I'm guessing your material is something that because you feel it from other people, you can connect with other people in your material.
100%. So I feel like with comedy, the reason my comedy hits so hard and really affects people is because I study human behavior so much that I know exactly why you're laughing. I know how you're going to laugh. I can manipulate the show in a way to make you more joyous and more participatory. Is that a word? I don't know. But to
Yeah.
participate in my show and come out of your shell, because I know that most people, they can't wait to go to a comedy show. They'll even put on suspenders that are kind of funny because they saw Robin Williams wear them one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we're going to have a funny, fun night. And so if you don't come into that thinking that way, that this is your audience, or you see them as an enemy, you're approaching it the wrong way, because most comics go, oh, it's another audience. I'm so afraid. Of what? I can't wait to go have a party with these people.
So do those people that are afraid, do they have longevity in this business?
Sure. Johnny Carson said he was terrified every time he went out to do the Tonight Show. But he said that
Oh,
that's what made him great was being afraid every night. So I'm not saying what he does is right or wrong. I'm just saying we have different approaches to it.
wow. He was brilliant.
He was brilliant. He made me laugh every night.
Do you have other shows or coming up?
So my wife and I are going to be in Alaska this week, Wednesday through Sunday, I believe, all over the place. Wasilla and Anchorage and Kenai and some other places.
Wow.
Yeah, go to it's not Dante the comic, but comicdante.com is my website. They can check me out there. And then she and I own a company called Golden Artists Entertainment. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and people can check that out as well. www.goldenartists with an S plural entertainment. And we also now represent actors, comedians, celebrities, famous people that you would probably know, and things like, and a lot of what do you call it? Reality stars from Big
Uh-huh.
Brother, Survivor, Traders, all that stuff.
So, quick question. So, now that you're on that side of first you were talent, now you're representing talent. And I'm sure there's people that you look for when talent comes in the door and they're like, "Hey, we how do you make those decisions
Yeah.
on saying, honey, or or all right, honey,
You know what? I think it's just a matter. I'm not that rude person in Hollywood that goes, "Hey, lose the weight, get your teeth fixed, and cut your hair."
Well, that's
I
because
look
you're in
at
comedy. That's a mixed
right.
bag, isn't it?
Well, not everyone's in comedy, but like I also send people out for auditions and things, and it's
Yeah.
like I like a unique look. I don't want you to be perfect looking. I'm not representing Brad Pitt. I'm representing everyone else. We all look different. I'm not perfect shape or anything. Like I've got a big scar on my face. And I've had a good career, so it means I look for talent. I don't look for. I do look. I'm not saying I don't look for looks, but looks, I mean appearance, not how you were born. I look for, do you act and dress like a star? You know what I mean? Or do you dress down and no one comes to look at you? Because how you dress really is going to affect the way people treat you. I notice when I wear a suit and I live in Hollywood, there could be a movie premiere. I live where my house is, where I am in Hollywood. If we took you outside, I could show you where Hollywood Boulevard is. It's just a block away. But if I went up there and they were having a big movie premiere and I showed up in a suit and I just walked past the security, they wouldn't even ask me for an ID or anything because I wore a suit. Because no one in Los Angeles, first of all, wears a suit unless you're working at a movie premiere. So how you dress and act really does affect it. And I teach this in my classes to the comedians. I say, listen, you're not just some schlubby comedian in these clubs. Do you want to stand out? Then have the best material and be the best product. You're Coca-Cola now. Dress and be Coca-Cola. Everything you do is Coca-Cola now. You have to be the best at your game or else get out.
I think that's just great advice across the board. That's in every profession.
In every profession, be the best, be dressed well, everything. We can't fix our appearance, but we can, I mean, our looks, but we can fix our appearance.
Yes. So we're dressed to impress.
Yes.
So we walk in, we're dressed to impress. What else?
How about the way you act? You know what I mean? If you are acting insecure around people or even your audience beforehand, they're going to treat you differently when you show up because now they feel like you gave them power. But when you show up to the stage and let them know just by whatever it is, sometimes I'm silent when I walk up. Sometimes I wait to get to that mic and maybe even take a second because people are like, what is he doing? Why? What? But then other people come, hey guys, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And then you go, I don't even know if I like this guy yet. Give him a little air of mystery, Just,
Okay.
I mean, for me personally, it's a control thing because you have to let the audience know that you are in control. You got this. I'm the one running the show. You guys are part of it and we're going to go on this together, but I'm still the captain of the ship. I'm still going to have to decide if we're going to the Bahamas or to Hawaii, and you guys are on the trip with me. You don't tell me where we're going. I'm telling you where we're going, and we're going to have the best cruise ever.
You're going to enjoy this ride. So, okay. But for your talent company, I'm just thinking for your entertainment business, folks, how do you find your talent? Do they find you? You find them? Combination of both? And what is that? I'm just curious.
What are
Like,
we looking for?
what are we looking for that defines somebody? Like, okay, I want to represent them, or I will represent them.
That's a really good question, because I can tell you this: everyone who moves to Los Angeles honestly believes that they are going to be the next Tom Cruise or Kevin Hart. They do. And because everyone came from a smaller town than LA, they came from where I did, where, I moved to San Diego and I was the best at my school at acting. And I was like, well, if I'm the best here, when I get to LA, everyone's going to go, wow, we must use him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? How many towns are in America? Thousands. And then every year, all those high school kids move here. The best of the best move here. And now they're all good looking and they're all good actors. So how do we pick them out?
Yeah.
Now we have to go, okay, now they're here. Who's more talented than the rest in every way, not just as an actor or as a comedian? How are they dressed? How are they treating others? How's their social media? How do they act when you do send them out to an audition? Can they actually audition? How's their appearance? Do they look and dress like a star, or are they waiting to become a star to finally look and dress like one? And the top one that I look for, are they a good networker? Because in this business and almost every business, you have to keep yourself alive. Your agents and managers can get you those jobs, but you have to get the second one by impressing everyone. Be a good networker. Go to every networking thing you can. My wife said to me today, she goes, we got to go network more. I said, we know everyone. She goes, it doesn't matter. Out of sight, out of mind. And she's right.
Yeah.
I had a friend who was making a movie. It's a really funny movie. No one really saw it because it only aired on like Comedy Central, but I'm sure you can find it on the internet. It's called Windy City Heat. So a guy named Don Barris, who filmed this guy for years at the Comedy Store, named Perry Cavello or something like that, Scary Perry. And he'd always ask me, Dante, you want to be in my skits where I trick Perry again and this and that? Sure. What am I doing this time? Tell him that they made you the president of Hollywood. I'm like, there is no president of Hollywood. He's stupid. So he would bring him over to me and he'd go, oh, I heard you got president of Hollywood. Congrats. If you can get me anything, So he filmed this guy for years doing stuff like this. One day he shows it to Jimmy Kimmel because he was his warm-up guy. He still is. And Jimmy goes, wow, we got to make this a movie. We have to trick this guy into believing we're making a movie around him when none of us are actually making a movie. We're making a movie about making a movie about him. And so they made this movie and I wasn't in it and I wasn't asked to be in it. And so I went up to Don Barris after I saw it and I went, man, that was a great movie. I said, I helped you for years make this. You never thought of me. He goes, Dante, look at the movie. Name one person you know in the movie besides Perry. I said, Fat James. That was his name, James. Uh-huh. Fat James. That's what he went by. I said, Fat James was in it. He goes, do you know why Fat James was in it, Dante? He goes, because Fat James, out of the hundreds of comedians I know, was the only person who asked. He said, hey, congrats. I hear you're making a movie. If there's anything for me, please put me in it. And I went, oh my God, I've booked James because of the same reasons, because he was the only one who asked. And I went, oh my God, it's all about networking. It's all about asking for things. Do you know? Ask. Just ask.
And that goes back to, why do people not ask?
Fear. And what's the worst that can happen?
So what?
So what? I mean, my only regrets in life are that I knew so many famous people and never asked them for something. Like I went to college with a guy named Eric Bishop. I helped him get into stand-up and all these things. He moved up to LA before me, changed his name to Jamie Foxx, and now he has an Academy Award.
Wow.
Did I ever ask him to help me? No. Should I have? Probably. Would he? I don't know. But it would have been nice to know that I at least asked. And that was my own fear, my own, I'm too afraid, or, well, I'm going to be more famous, or whatever the ego was telling me.
Well, there's a lady named Jamie Kern Lima. She wrote a book called Worthy. And she dives deep into that.
Really?
Well. Yes, it is a phenomenal book. I highly recommend it. And so Jamie Kern Lima tells her story where she was turned down, and she was willing to ask and ask and ask. And then one day one of her big dreams was to meet Oprah Winfrey, and she had an opportunity to meet Oprah Winfrey. And then Oprah Winfrey gave her her personal cell phone number, said, Jamie, call me anytime about anything, right? Anything. And for whatever reason, Jamie She didn't ask. And she always says, you don't rise to what what maybe you deserve or earned or any of those things. And if you receive it, right,
Hmm?
you'll fall to what you believe you're worth.
Wow.
So that's the book is worth reading. That's just a part of the story. And that's the basis of the whole book.
But I bet you part of that is fear. Again, fear is a
It is.
troublemaker in this world.
It is.
And am I crazy or did people just hide this from me? But I didn't even know about depression and anxiety really until 10 years ago. I
It
feel like,
didn't exist when we were kids. It was suck it up, buttercup.
right, suck it up, buttercup. I think it existed, but everyone just treated it terribly. And if you remember right, mental health, if you brought it up, you were fired from your job. You
Mm-hmm.
were, well, they're mental. They've got this craziness. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? No one thought that, if you break your arm, you go to the hospital. If you do this, but if your brain isn't working right, well, then we got to throw them out because they're no good anymore.
Yes. And it's so true. And we see it so my son got diagnosed with ADD, right? And it's funny, he discovered it when he had a concussion. The neurologist said, hey, you need to go get him tested. So long. The first appointment is with the parents. So Juan and I, my husband's name is Juan. So we go in the office, we sit down, and he's asked me some questions. I overshare, and he says, oh yeah, he's ADD. I was like, how do you know? He said, well, it's typically hereditary. So I'm like, oh, so that's how I figured out I had ADD. And so much makes sense with that. And with that, I discovered with ADD, because when we were kids, we were just rambunctious, or we overtalked, or we, all
Right.
those things, right? And it wasn't wrong. It was just not right. And then part of that is the anxiety,
Yes.
which
Yes.
is huge. And so many of us who are in probably your line of work,
Yes.
right?
They have very anxious anxiety because it's all about being accepted.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being accepted. And I'm sure that there's people in every job, because people say to me, oh, how come there's so many people like that in Hollywood? I'm like, I bet you there's like people like that in every job. You know how you say like, well, they changed when they got power. What about that lady who worked next to you at your office, who's now the boss, who acts like a jerk? Same exact thing. It's just
She was
different.
a jerk before. I'm just going to say she was a jerk before. It just, the power gave her that opportunity to be a bigger jerk. It's like money. Money doesn't make you a jerk. Money just accentuates everything that you were before. So if
Corrected
you're
mind.
fabulous and kind and wonderful, please go make a lot of money. We need you to.
That's why I love Adam Sandler. I've worked with him on a million movies. He's not my friend or anything. He doesn't owe me anything. They paid me to do my job. But every time I saw this man, whether it was at a comedy club or on a movie set, he was the kindest to everyone. To everyone. He acted like, I get who I am. I get that you know who I am, and I'm going to be nice to everybody. I couldn't give anyone else higher praise. The only other person that I saw act same way and even better, because he was friends with even the homeless, was Robin Williams. Those two men to me are who I strive to be every day. I think of both of them. Well, unfortunately and fortunately, I have a big meeting. We're pitching a new TV show today at noon. So it's very exciting. And my wife just got a couple of our people podcasts and TV shows, and she's the real hustler at our company. She really is. She's the
Well, I
best.
wish you the best of luck on that, but I'm confident that that's achieved because you've already prepared incredibly just through your life journey. And I want to say thank you so much for your time, your energy,
Thank
your
you.
wisdom, like just being so open to sharing everything that you've shared. Thank
I'll
you.
come back anytime.
Oh, that means so much. Thank you. I'm new at this.
I had a great time. You're a really good question asker. I should say podcaster. But yeah, you ask great questions because you made me stop and think, because most people just go, and then what's it like to do this or that?
You know what it is? You're interesting.
Oh, thanks.
And you made me incredibly interested. So
Oh, that's
thank you
very
for
nice.
that.
What a nice thing to say.